Hello, I recently asked how to code this using a single button element per item and pretty much the same CSS, so the same non-custom properties. The only things that are different are some custom properties that set the backgrounds of the glossy areas in the middle and the thicknesses of the outer metallic rings. So let's see how we do that. We have a heading and we have 3 buttons, and then we have some colors in the CSS and a background I won't be enabling for now. So let's move on to the buttons. First off, we start with a unit, and we could probably skip this step, but whatever. Okay, so now that we've done this, we have the dimension of the inner glossy part. So let's say 25 units. Okay, now for the buttons, we set a width and a height, and these are not going to be equal to the glossy part, but that's what we set them to for now. We'll be changing this later, but for now we just want to have some dimensions. So just set them, height, and also set the border radius 50% so that we have round buttons. We want to do something about that border, so border, so it's going to be solid, and this is going to be the outer metallic part, so metal out, 0 pixels. Okay, and let's make it something like pink. Now for the first one we don't have any metallic outer part, so but for the other ones, so nth of type, and I'm not using nth child because I also have the heading in front. So that's for the second and the third button, and if we had more buttons for those as well. So here we have for here this is going to be pretty thin, so something like this. And we should see a border. We are. Okay, now same thing for the padding. We'll be using something pretty similar, except it's going to be the middle metallic ring, and the inner one is going to be included in the content box, but more on that a bit later. So this one is going to be different for the second and the third. So here, this is going to be specific to the second, and it's going to use the middle one, and it's not going to be smaller than a unit. It's actually going to be bigger, and it's going to be even bigger for the third one. So this is the third, and again, this is going to be thicker. The thing is, now we're not seeing any difference, and we're not seeing any difference because of the box sizing. So usually we do the opposite. We set box sizing to border box, but here we set it to content box so that we see all the padding and stuff. Okay, let's do something about the layout because it looks ugly like this. Display flex, also flex wrap, and align items center, justify content space around. Let's make min height full height. Now that we've done this, let's get rid of the scroll bar. Actually, let's get rid of set this margin 0, padding 0. Okay, so now that I've done this, on the heading I want it to be full width, so like this. Okay, and I also want it to be text align, center aligned, sorry. Okay, having done this, something else I want to do here is have a media query. So media orientation, portrait, flex direction column. Okay, I've done this, and now when I change the orientation. Okay, looks good. So now that I've done this, I think I can collapse the body for now and just focus on stuff that I have here. So the first thing, set the background here. Background, and I'll be using radial gradient, and this is going to use, let's go back up a bit, it's going to use these colors from here, and it's going to use them as gloss. I don't know, stop list, I don't know, gloss colors, something. Okay, let's just call it that, gloss colors. And this is because Sass has a problem with CSS custom properties there. Okay, let's say it works like that, and we'll be setting this. Just set this right here. So it's not going to like that, and then have these, just take them and copy paste them in these two places. This should do it. Okay, but we don't want this to stretch out for everything, so we'll limit to content box first off. Okay, and now we see that space. So we add a conic gradient to create the metallic look, and this is going to be the gloss stop list. But as you can see, that's not exactly what I want. I want it to go from this color right here, and this final stop here, I want it at the bottom, and then I want to reverse the stops. So the way I'll be doing this is by adding all the stops except the last one to this list. So here I set a list length, that's going to be the length of this initial gloss stop list, and here I'll have a for loop, and I can't go backwards, so decrement the indices in a for loop in Sass. So what I'll be doing is for I from 1 to the length of the initial list, the new version of the gloss stop list is going to be its previous version, and here I add I go backwards adding, so the initial list length minus the current index. So this should do it, and it does, as you can see there. Okay, that's nice. So this is going to be a padding box. And finally, we'll have a linear gradient that's going to go from something lighter to something darker. So lighter gray and a darker gray. This is going to be a border box, but I'm not going to be seeing it unless I make this transparent. Let's make this border box. Okay, and now I'm seeing that. Okay, that's good. So something else I want to do here is actually limit this to the radius of the glossy part. And for now, it doesn't really matter, but it's going to matter a bit later. So this is going to be half the dimension. So use that radius Okay. Now that I've done this, I need to add the inner dark rubbery thing. As you can see, there's an inner black thing in there, and there's also an inner ring. So these will be a part of the whole thing. So, and this is what I meant when I said that these are not going to be the final dimensions. So my final dimensions, I'm going to have a rubbery difference. So that's going to be the difference between the outer limit of the glass and the inner limit of the inner metallic ring. So this is going to be my rubbery difference. This is going to be 0 initially, but then I'll change it. Here, this is going to be pretty thin. Do I really need to set it? I do wonder about that. So let's just set the dimension, and here we have calc, and we have the glass dimension, so the dimension of the glass area, plus twice that difference. So this is going to be 0 by default. This is the dimension, and then I have the dimension of the whole content box, so the inner dimension. So this is going to be this dimension right here, and again I'll be having a calc. Okay, that plus twice the inner metallic ring. Which is 0 initially. Now here I'll have one for the inner and one for the outer. So in. Okay, so that gives me my inner dimension, which is what I'll actually be setting here. So okay, now the thing is, I don't want this to go beyond, so I'll be setting a rubber color. So let's make it black. So this is my glass part, and then I'll be having my rubber color, which starts from the same point on. Okay, and then I'll have the metallic part after that difference. Yeah, I do need to set it. No, actually, I'll be setting the radius here, and that's calc. Okay, so yeah, that's the outer radius of the rubbery part. Okay, and then I have transparent. Sorry, transparent. Okay, and then I want to have a linear gradient that goes from something a bit darker. This is also going to be limited to the content box. It's going to be a linear gradient, something like I have here, something like this. I don't know, something like this, I suppose. Let's go back a bit and see how it looks. I think it looks actually pretty good. So I might be leaving it at this. I don't know, let's make it slightly darker. And it's going to be a gray in both cases anyway. So as you can see, I have the dark rubbery strip, then I have the inner metallic ring. That's really cool. So something else I will be doing, I want to have some ridges above this conic gradient, some metallic ridges. So the way I'll be doing this is with a radial gradient. And for this radial gradient, I'll be having some metallic colors. This is going to be a list. So something like this. Okay, and then I'll be having metallic alpha, which is going to be something like 0.5 for now, just to see things better. But then we'll be making it smaller, so it's more subtle. So repeating radial gradient. And this is going to be a padding box. Okay, so here what I have is RGBA and the first metallic color. And here I have the metallic alpha. Okay, now that I've done this, let's bring on the next one. And then again finish it off. So this is going to be 2, and here I'm going to have something like 2 pixels, because I want to have some pretty thin strips, and maybe you can't see them, but if I make this red, you will be able to see them, because there are like really thin ridges there. So yeah, that's what I want there. And for now they're a bit exaggerated, so let's bring them down to something like 0.2, and they won't be that intense. I think I can bring them down to 0.15 something, and I still have and they're still visible, except they're a lot more subtle now. So yeah, now let's get rid of the text, because it's sitting there and it looks ugly. So let's do text indent, just take it out. Okay, so now that I've done this, something else I want to do is also overflow hidden. Okay, now the next thing that I want to do is those shine parts on top, and those are going to be with pseudo elements. So before and after, they're both absolutely positioned, which means I need to set position relative here on the buttons. And I'll be having a shine offset and then a shine maximum dimension. So shine offset, and let's say this is going to be something like this, and then I'll have a shine maximum dimension, and this is going to be the glass dimension minus twice the shine offset. Okay, and I'll be setting the dimensions to this maximum shine thing. So set the width, set the height, do the same thing, also set content to nothing, and for the before I'll be having some kind of like white overlay, but I want them the top and the bottom to be slightly different, because if you see this is more white there, and here is more white transparent. So we'll be doing that. Background, and that's linear gradient, and I go from RGBA. This is going to be white, something like 0.9, and then just take this, use something way smaller, and of course I need to set this top 50%, left 50%, and then margin -half this shine maximum dimension. Okay. Okay, now I've done this. And for the before, the height is going to be something a bit different. So let's say it's going to be the glass radius plus unit, so slightly bigger than half. Okay, and then I'll have border radius 50%, which is not going to apply for the top. So what I'll be doing is have a shine radius for the Y, that's going to be 59%, and then there's going to be the difference, shine radius difference, 100% minus. Okay, so now that I have this, I'll just be taking this and use this border radius 50% for the X, and as for the Y, I'll need to interpolate some stuff, so just take this, this is going to be a bit different, so this should do it. Okay, now something else I want to do is set transform scale, scale X, so it fits nicely in there. Okay, and now I have the nice shine part at the top, and for the after I have a box shadow. So inset box shadow, horizontal offset, no offset, and then I'll be having a vertical offset. So let's say it's going to be minus something like this. Let's say 1 pixel for the blur. Then I'll minus unit. That's what I wanted to type, and of course we want to make sure SAS doesn't do that. Okay, and I want this to be RGBA, something like this. Okay, I think I can. What if I make this? How does that look? I think it looks pretty good. Let's see. Yeah. Let's flatten it a bit more. Something like this. Okay, I think I'll leave it like this. It looks pretty good. So yeah, that's the buttons, that's the shine. Now let's do something. Here I have this background and I want it positioned a bit nicer in the middle and cover. Okay, and I also want to set an overlay, so let's do that. Something like this. So linear gradient, what I have is this. So this should look nice. Okay, now that I've done this, let's also set a font here, and it's going to be something like this. Okay, let's make it thicker. Let's give it a background, which is going to be something, not a background, a color for a background of the text, I don't know. So something like this. Let's also set a text shadow. Text shadow, that's going to be white. This should do it. Okay, I have my nice shiny glass buttons, and they're arranged nicely like this. Okay, let's also set something else. Yeah, this won't exactly work. If I do something like color transparent, okay, but it's still going to be selectable, so let's also do font size 0. I think 0 works as well. Okay, so having done this, I think I fixed that issue. Okay, one more thing I want to do here is sorry. So here I want to set HTML font size, something like this. So let's see it now. Okay, it's okay. So yeah, I'll just leave it like this. This is what I wanted to show you for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have and you want me to be able to do more stuff in the future, please consider supporting my work. You can do this by being a cool cat and becoming a patron on Patreon, and that comes with some really cool perks. So you can see stuff that I'm working on in advance, sometimes way in advance, and you can see stuff that I'll never put out, that will never get released, and other things. Just check it out on Patreon. Or you can make this kitty very happy by getting her something off her Amazon wishlist. Again, the links for that are going to be in the description. Or you can at least share this to show the role what can be done with CSS these days, because honestly, I think it's pretty damn cool. In any event, thanks for watching.